All right, Miss Megan, we're talking all things sugar push, all the mistakes that people make, all the variations that we can do. So we're gonna talk everything sugar push, but the first thing I wanna cover is the fact that the name sugar push is wrong. That's a weird one. The correct technical term, now we use sugar push all the time, so if your teacher does, that's totally fine. But the right terminology is technically push break. So back in the early days of swing dancing, they were dancing in closed position, they were doing all the Charleston steps, Lindy Hop, and then one day someone pushed their partner away and they lost connection and they danced back to one another. And they learned that a push to a breakaway position, otherwise known as push break, would be an effective way to be able to have their own styling while still being connected to their partner. So by technical definition, this is a push break, a sugar push. The first 6 count pattern that you'll learn, it looks like this. 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6. So let's quickly cover the footwork, then we're gonna cover the common mistakes for leaders, followers, then we're gonna give you some variations. So basic footwork, we have 2 walking steps for 1, 2, we have a triple step, that's 3 steps and 2 beats of music, 3 and 4. Then we have a triple step in place, 5 and 6, known as an anchor step because it doesn't
move.
Cool. So Miss Megan, your footwork?
All right, right foot going forward. We have forward, forward, together, together, back, triple step.
So what's the most common mistake that people make in the sugar push, Megan?
Oh, well, there's a ton of them, but it's probably no connection.
No connection. So what we mean by that is West Coast has 2 basic connections. We have an away connection, which you can practice by basically taking your hips away, keeping your head over your hips. You don't want to pull back with your shoulders or with your hips too much. That creates an away connection. Then we could actually lean towards each other and create a forward connection. Again, I don't want to be too far forward with my head or with my hips, but there is a little bit of a forward connection and an away connection. So if we take our anchored position, my right foot behind my left, Megan's left foot behind her right, we just work between those 2 connection points, forward and away. We want to switch between these quickly in our sugar push. There's going to be a couple of things you'll do wrong as the leaders and the followers, but let's cover them as we go. So leaders, I'm going to offer this hand up. Megan's going to come in with what I call her punching knuckles. So I offer this hand up early. We go 1, 2, I stop Megan on 2, we triple 3, and I send her away for count 4. She gets to the end of that connection before we anchor 5 and 6. So if we do it together, we have 1 connect, 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6. So the followers do a poor job of connecting in the beginning, but let's cover what the leaders could do wrong to create that. So the first thing you could do wrong as the leader is if I take 2 biggest steps, 1, 2, and Megan has trouble connecting. So leaders, first thing I want you to do, the way I teach my beginners in the beginning is back and together. That is a good rule to not go too far. So even if you go too big on the first step, right? 1, if you think together-ish on the second step, you're gonna be a wall for her, and she triples 3 and 4, 5, and 6. So that's the first part. Second part, leaders, in terms of footwork, we're gonna talk about the hands in a second. If I go back, together, triple step, I don't want to go forward with a big step. I want to shorten that step to allow Megan to move away from me to connect. So if I'm thinking leaders, I have back and together, triple small step and anchor step. Back and together, triple small step and anchor step. From the follower's position, the footwork tends to be too what?
Too small. So I know it's really weird walking straight at somebody.
But you must.
But you must, because you're going to run into a wall before you hit them, I promise. Well, most of the time. All right, so you have walk, walk. It's your job to close that distance by the end of count 2. All right? So we have 1, 2. Now you want to stay here towards them for 3 and on count 4, you're going to connect back in this connection, and then we have 5 and 6.
And that's going to happen with our bodies. So let's go back to the leaders and what we could do wrong, and then the followers what they could do wrong. So leaders, I don't want to initiate this with my hands. I don't want to initiate with my hands. The rule is I can move my hand a lot faster than Megan can move her body. But even if I move my body as fast as possible, Megan can still catch up. So as the leader, I want to not pull with my arm on the first part. The second thing I want to do is not push with my arm. And I'll even add a third one in there. I don't want to run my arms away from her either. So I always feel like...
That was most of the time.
Yeah, so if someone's going to throw a ball at you, right, I don't want to catch it close to me. I want to catch it out away from me, so in case it's coming in hot, I can absorb it. So I want my arms to be out in front, and if I need to absorb a little bit, I will on both sides, right? But in the beginning, I want to think...
past your body.
Correct. Well, actually, that's not true. A lot of cool kids go past their body.
Past.
Past bad. Hands past. That'd be really bad.
Totally run into
That'd be really bad. Yeah, so that's, okay, let's practice that. Hands past the body, just so you know what that looks like. Now we know. Hands in front of the body, cool. Hands in front of the body and absorbing, maybe even more cool. Make sense? All right, so that's your basic things. From the follower's standpoint, anything connection-wise for the followers that they can mess up?
Yeah, so followers, the step size is one thing, but I think a lot of you, again, you don't want to run into the leader, so you go 1, 2, and you're like, no, I'm good here. But then you have no connection there at all.
Yep. So you want to make sure that this runs in and you create some sort of connection. 1, 2, 3, and in a perfect world, the leader will absorb you. So if you come in fairly strong, the leader can then absorb that. One of the things that I find that at least I do with my students, is I put on a song and I make them do push, pass, and a whip. So in this case, you want to be able to just move your body through the sugar push all by yourself to the music to figure out where I need to go, how far can you move your own body during the music all by yourself. Once you get that in sync, it becomes easier to manage this stuff. But then we're going to get to the anchor step. That's really why we create the stretch. And I'm actually going to do this on the other side, Miss Megan, because this is where West Coast swing becomes quite cool. It's that anchor position. And there's no such thing. We call this an anchor step, but you can really think of it like a concept of stretching away during counts 5 and 6, right? So what I mean by that is we go 1, 2, 3, and 4. We have that away connection. A good rule here is you want to be about half of what your max connection would be, right? So the connection would be different partner to partner, but Megan and I, let's call our connection together a 10 when we're at the end. Right here, it's like a 5. As I do my anchor step and roll through my feet and stretch myself back, a couple things have to happen. I'm going to build that connection, but if I leave my arms stiff, what's going to happen? Something has to give. So as I stretch away, this stays in place and I move myself away and we create that stretch. So a good way to do that is just stand forward on the front foot, create a little bit of connection, about half of what you feel comfortable with at the end, stretch to your max. Your max is going to be different depending upon the partners. Then I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, and connect, short step for me, triple stretch, and then we're going to go right into the next part, 3 and 4, 5 and 6. And you can see that as we start to create that connection between us, it starts to stretch. Now, I don't want the followers to get too heavy. What do I mean by heavy? That doesn't mean that at this moment that we're stretched away, think like a bow. At the furthest point away, it's got some weight to it, right? So it's maybe weighty right here. This is what heavy is. Heavy is if Megan doesn't move her behind at me, it's heavy, and then she's never going to get to me, and then it's hard to dance with her. My ab muscles hurt from holding on. So heavy to me means not what this hand feels like, but when it's time to move, Megan reacts, and she reacts. So she's moving her own body, which comes back to that practice dancing it by yourself. Now let's get into some variations for your sugar push. Easiest place to vary it is actually on your anchor step. You can do this in all your patterns. And I can do 1, 2, 3, and 4. I can hook this behind 5 and 6 and create some variation. Let's do that again. We have 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6. I can go behind. One of Megan's favorite is to go to the side. 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6. 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6. And the neat thing about this is, remember we started this story about the push to breakaway position, right? If we're dancing along in our starter step and we do a push to a breakaway position, right? Now we have freedom out here. This keeps us together in West Coast swing, but now we have freedom. So by freedom meaning, Megan likes her side anchor step, I like my behind. As long as this hand stays still, we're connected. 1, 2, 3, and 4. we can both do our own styling because we followed the rules of the connection. The third place, if we go back this way, that we can do this is to cross in front in our anchor. 1, 2, 3, and 4. This one's tricky because I need to leave this connection and my center pulled away, but I can go in front as long as I leave my center pulled away, right? If we do that again, 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6. So this really comes into, for the followers, this is a very stylistic one. It kind of works like an
Might
S.
be my ultimate favorite.
Yeah, so if I just do mine plain and ordinary, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Megan takes that side away, and now she can go in front, 5, and 6. I don't have to do it. I could do it. That's what becomes cool about West Coast Swing is as you start to create these connection points and you get a feel for your partner, then I can start to, with my eyes closed, right, feel the different direction she's going. I don't know if I'm doing it the right way. Boom, boom, boom. How'd I do?
Good job.
Did I get it? See, there you go. First time we did that blindfolded. But you can start to feel through that connection. And it comes back to, did we follow the basic rules, right? I didn't take too big of steps. We create a connection point here. We create a connection point here. And then maybe even I can influence my partner. And that's when you see at high levels, you think, you know, there's no way that they haven't danced together their whole lives. But if they follow those rules, they will stay connected. So if you want to learn more of the basic stuff, we have an entire video here with the 9 basic patterns you need to learn for West Coast Swing. This video here, the 7 patterns you need to learn next. But better than that, right over here, we have a 14-day trial to our website. It's like Netflix for West Coast Swing. Also has all the other social dance styles, but everything's broken down from beginner, intermediate, advanced, pro level moves. You have trouble with styling, musicality, connection, spins and turns. There's videos for all that. You can try it 14 days free here. Have a great time. We'll see you on the dance floor soon.